Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Q Nostalgia here. I want to talk to you guys a little bit about Pantheon and, and the fact that Knights of Napalm are taking over the server, the Stormona server. Man, wow! Our influence is growing everywhere I look. But yeah, I want to talk to you guys about a change made to torches that I'm not too keen on. I'm not a big fan of it. This was just dropped on the 14th, so today at the time of recording this, I don't know if I'm gonna upload it today or not, but. Anyways, oops. Lo and behold, you don't have to have one of your hands holding a torch. So, I mean, I guess there's positives to that, right? I mean, there definitely are. Some people might like that. I personally don't like it, and the reason why I don't like it is because, well, there's a few reasons. One is that I'm pretty sure Druid is going to get like a Firefly spell or something like that. I think a wizard gets one as well. And there's also races that are supposed to be able to see in the dark. And it trivializes that. And I don't like that. Not only that, it was cool seeing people holding their torch. Now it's just kind of like what EQOA was doing. And everybody knows here I love EQOA. I mean, obviously, given the name, right? It's my favorite MMORPG of all time. If not my favorite game of all time. Actually, I'd say that it is. I think the sun's starting to come out. Yep. I want to see if the torch automatically goes off on its own. I think it does. Right, so you can see, I think that's a wizard right there. He's got his little wisp thing chilling over his shoulder. But yeah, it's I think it's unfortunate. And there's something to be said about hardcore mechanics. And I was going to make a whole video about this, just talking about why I like the fact that we don't have a map in the game. We're going to be getting one, by the way. I see a lot of debate about this on the Steam forums. We don't need a map. Yes, we do. Well, we're going to be getting one. That's planned. That the devs have said as much. There is a map coming. It's not going to be a GPS map where it shows you exactly where you are and everything, but it is going to be a thing. And I'm fine with that. That's fine as long as it's, like I said, doesn't have GPS, which doesn't make sense. I traveled away from town, and I'm only level 12. Yeah. And around level 10, I started getting kind of brave. I went down into, I think it was called Avendir's Pass or something. Way down the road from here. I went into a completely different zone. And I was just roaming around, and I seen some hornets, and I started to attack the hornets. And I had no idea that the hornets have this thing called Final Sting or something like that, where they do a tremendous amount of damage, and it almost killed me. And my heart skipped a beat. I was like, oh, man. And it was a good feeling. At the time, it doesn't feel like it, right? But when you look back, you realize, wow, that was such an adventure. I was genuinely afraid of dying there and losing all my stuff and, not knowing how to get there. I mean, you could type in, I think you do /coordinates or something like that, and it'll tell you the coordinates, and you can use a map from an offline site or from a non-in-game source to find your corpse. But still, it's, you don't want that to happen, right? And you don't have that sense of danger and, oh man, I'm really far away from home. I need to be careful. You don't have that unless you have a steep death penalty where, you drop your stuff, not everything you're wearing, obviously, which I think is a good balance. You keep everything you're wearing, but you drop your bags and all the stuff in your bags and on your person. I think that's a good thing. Some people absolutely hate that. I understand. But if you give it more time, I think this is the case for a lot of people. If you give it more time and you push through that, you'll come to love it, and you'll come to understand why it's important to have that. Because people get bored, and the game starts to feel trivialized when there are no repercussions. You have to have a struggle. If you think about like every story you've ever really liked, you know what I mean? Look at like just Lord of the Rings. We'll stick with Tolkien, right? Because we're in the Tolkien-esque universe here. But if there were no struggles to overcome, if it wasn't insanely difficult to get to Mount Doom and dispose of the ring, like, nobody would really care. It wouldn't matter. And yeah, I know this is kind of a side tangent, right? We're supposed to be talking about the torch over here, man. What are you doing? But that's part of how things start to get trivialized. And to me, this is the first baby step towards doing that, and hopefully it's not a trend. I don't think it will be. I think these guys are trying to strike a balance between that old school and new school vibe, and I do respect that. But me personally, I prefer to have it so that I have to hold the dang thing. Do I have to sacrifice my shield? Yes. But nighttime is more dangerous. I mean, I can always go back to town and craft for a while. I can pick other things to do, and I was doing that for a while. Most of the gear that I had before I started getting drops came from me crafting, and I crafted a full set of leather, and it felt great. And at night, it was freaky. You got spawns that, they're not there during the day. They're more dangerous. You can't see. You can easily run into a camp of mobs and not realize you're doing it, and you're in trouble. That's one of the reasons why I like playing a shaman, by the way, because if you do F up, well, you could always just sprint away. You got your spirit of the wolf, basically. It's Windstrider. And you can get out of that situation. So it's nice to have the mechanics that allow you to deal with that danger to some degree. But yeah, for me, I think it's a step in the wrong direction. And I hope they reconsider it and go back. Usually once that decision is made, that's it. They won't recant on it. That's not a definite. They might, but... And, of course, in typical fashion, I'm sitting here editing the video, and I think to myself, what would be a good compromise for this? I've got a solution, guys. I think that we can have a happy middle ground here. Because I think that torches should not be in this slot. But, however, later on, and it shouldn't be easy to get this, it should either be expensive or require some sort of crafting, maybe have a slot for a lantern, right? So, in the early game, people are still using those torches. Towards the mid-game, now they can just fasten a lantern to their belt, and it should be something that you see on the character. I don't know if maybe they're going to try to lead into that later on, but I think that's a really good idea. It's just me. I know other people are going to think, hey, that sounds pretty good, but I'm kind of proud of myself for coming up with that one on the fly. I'll pat myself on the back a little bit here. All right. There we go. No, I'm just messing around. But I think it's an interesting concept. I think it's something that they should roll with. And I remember having this conversation with the Sean and the developers of Monsters and Memories in terms of having a lantern. It'd be cool if you get a backpack and you could also decide to put it back there. And it kind of changes the way that it, maybe you see the shadow from a different angle of your character, and have one here on your belt, like on your hip. I think that'd be really cool. That way you don't ditch the aesthetic of having a torch, and if you drop your lantern on your way back to go get your stuff, maybe you've got a torch then, so the torch isn't completely phased out. Yeah, it's one of those things. I think it's a shame, and it takes away from, like I said, the races that have night vision, well, that are going to have night vision. I don't think anybody does yet, and it takes away from having those spells, those light spells. When people are selecting a class to go into a dungeon that's just completely pitch black, they might consider, hey, maybe I should take this wizard instead of this character. We already have this. Maybe we should take that. And it's just one of those things that I always love. Like Call of the Hero, for example, that my mage had in EQA. I believe they got it in EverQuest 1 as well. Was able to summon like one person per half hour or something like that. So if you had a raid, it was just one more thing that made a mage viable to bring along. Otherwise, why wouldn't you just bring a wizard? They do more raw damage. You know what I mean? So people have to consider things. And when you have to consider more stuff like that, I think it makes for a better game. When it's not so cut and dry, oh yeah, we're just gonna get a pure cleric healer. Well, no, you might not just want the pure cleric for a healer. You might want the debuffs and buffs of a shaman. You guys know what I'm talking about. So it's one of those things that it just takes away a bit of choice from the player. And it looks terrible, in my opinion, to just have a circle around your character. Like I said, EQA did that to a certain extent. It doesn't really get too dark in EQA. Other games do it, and I think it just looks kind of corny. Your player's just like glowing with a holy light. I want to see that torch in their hand, dang it. Monsters and Memories is still doing the torch thing, and I'm pretty sure they're going to stick with it. That game's more hardcore, though. You actually drop your spell book in that, which I absolutely hate that. I hate it, and it'd be kind of hypocritical for me to say I hope they change it after everything I just complained about, but I'm not a big fan of that mechanic. But speaking of not a big fan, I saw the Druid. Joppa was showing off the Druid, and it was blue. I don't know if that's just something they're messing. I don't want to play as a blue as a blue wolf, man. My Druid. This color looks good, and as you gain in levels, it should get more ferocious looking. Maybe have like a white wolf and then a black dire wolf, etc., and just make them look more badass. But yeah, I don't know. Kind of a side rant here. Hopefully the Druid form isn't blue. It's weird to me. But yeah. Anyways, I just thought I'd drop my 2 cents on that. I want to hear from you guys down in the comments section. What do you think about it? And if you're new here, I ask that you please subscribe. Click that notification bell, yada yada. Hit the like. Drop a comment. It helps with the algorithm. God bless. And I look forward to seeing you all in the next video. You like that wolf at the end? Sweet. I'm definitely leaving that in.